Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the Ant-Man channel. It is Tuesday, the 11th of August, 2015, and I'm your host, Ant-Man. I have an article in front of me from timesofisrael.com, ready for the final redemption. Israelis take red heifers by the horns. The Temple Institute wants to raise $125,000 to breed the holy cows used in an ancient and future, it hopes, purification rite. Yeah, I thought this would be an interesting article to look at by Melanie Lidman. This was published 3 days ago, or 2 days ago. I thought it was interesting because the red heifer, yeah, is the one thing that they are missing right now. You know, they're rebuilding the temple. They got all the vessels, they got all the stuff pretty much being prepared, and all they need are these red heifers. All a heifer is like pretty much like, I think it's a cow that's never had a calf, but they're cute. Look, I'll put the picture of it'll be the thumbnail of this red heifer, Angus, one of the red Angus bulls born at the Temple Institute's farm at an undisclosed location in Israel. Crazy. It's not even telling them where these things are at. White button-down shirts aren't something that you normally see at Israeli dairy and beef farms, but for the past few years, a number of rabbis have rolled up their tzitzit and stepped into rubber boots in a quest to create the ideal farm for a small herd of holy red heifers, called in Hebrew para aduma. Red heifers were slaughtered as sacrifices in the temple, and the ashes were used in purification rituals, especially for people who had become impure through contact with dead bodies. The Temple Institute is a 28-year-old organization that has built more than 70 artifacts that can be used when a third temple is built. Its latest project is to import frozen embryos from red Angus cattle in the United States to create a herd of kosher red heifers in Israel. People have this understanding that the red heifer is something otherworldly, or it is really rare, explained Rabbi Chaim Richman, the international director and co-founder of the Temple Institute. But really, there are hundreds or even thousands of red-colored cattle of different species that would qualify. What had made a modern-day red heifer an impossibility thus far lies in this description in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. Cows that are raised on commercial dairy farms are subjected to all sorts of blemish-causing conditions, including ears pierced with a numbered tag, cuts or bruises from roughhousing with other cows or contact with broken fences, and ulcers from ingesting metal accidentally mixed into cheap cattle feed. Even a vaccination could count as a blemish. Additionally, cows on commercial farms are used for work which that is forbidden according to the red heifer criteria. Ultimately, in order for there to be a kosher red heifer, it must be arranged from birth, explained Richmond. The animal must be supervised, watched, and cared for. The Temple Mount is in the process of importing frozen embryos from red Angus cows in the United States, deemed most likely to create progeny that are completely red, in order to create the first herd of red heifers for ritual use in Israel. It is called a red heifer because the cow must be female, but it can never have given birth. Haha. I thought I knew something about this, and I was right. That's all I knew about the heifer, was that it was like a cow that's never had a kid, so that means it has to be a girl if it's never had a kid, because biologically males don't have kids, so that eliminates that. So yes, a female red heifer is it's just that, which is pretty amazing, because whenever you run into one of these things in the scriptures, it's used for something really special, and it's a mystery. Like it's really hard to understand how that whole little ordinance and exchange works. It's pretty deep, and that's a whole different thing about clean and unclean that I don't have time for. In order to create an environment that will sufficiently protect the cows and safeguard their ritually kosher status, Richmond and his supporters toured a number of farms in Israel, ironing out the details of the layout and infrastructure to minimize the possibility of harm. The project isn't cheap. The Temple Institute recently launched an Indiegogo fundraising campaign to raise more than $125,000 in donations. Each frozen embryo costs approximately NIS 3,000, which is $800. Thus far, implanting embryos in cows in Israel has had about a 30% success rate. The agriculture ministry does not allow the importation of live cattle due to the threat of cattle-borne diseases such as hoof and mouth or mad cow disease. So, any farmer who wants to raise a breed of cow that not available in Israel must use frozen embryos. Interesting. Richmond said that the organization's focus on building ritual objects ready for use in the Third Temple does not have a messianic agenda and does not aim to hasten an eschatological end of days. Richmond points out that 1/3 of the 106 or the 113 commandments of Judaism are related to the temple. Our motivation for doing this is the same motivation for keeping Shabbat, which is because God commanded us to do it. He said the idea is to do our best to fulfill the mandate of the Jewish people. Well, that's a whole nother study I'm not going to get into either right now. That's what they believe. More than 1 million people have visited the Temple Institute's exhibition of the 70 ritual objects it has built according to specifications in the Torah. Richmond said these objects, including the future red heifer, are not models but rather are fully kosher for use in the Third Temple. Jews don't wait on the eve of the Sukkot holiday for a sukkah booth to come down to them, he said. The Temple Institute's most well-known object is a candelabra or menorah that stands in a plaza of the old city near the western wall. But the Temple Institute is note alone. I think they meant to put not. But the Temple Institute is not alone in planning for a red heifer. There are reports of red heifers all the time. The latest big splash was in the Jewish community in Lakewood, New Jersey. According to articles in the ultra-Orthodox press and Jewish blogs, the farmer Herbert Keller is the son of Holocaust survivors. Richmond said that the fact that this story spread like wildfire attests to the Jewish community's yearning for a connection with this concept. The red heifer, that's pretty mysterious. The red heifer is the exclusive antidote to the issue of tumat met, which is classically translated as impurity caused by exposure to a dead body, said Richmond. But there's also a holistic concept that has to do with spiritual imbalance, a disconnect from the reality of presence of God, I'm sure you meant to put. The antidote is this process of connection through a red heifer. The Temple Institute has already had a small success with the birth of a few completely red cows from the frozen embryos. There was only one problem. They weren't red heifers, they were red bulls. Okay. Well, yeah, they got some kinks, that they got some things they need to tinker with, I guess. But yeah, I don't know whether he's being dishonest or he's just naive, because he says like this has no, no eschatological type of underlying agenda. Well, I don't know that. But all I know is that, yeah, like I've heard about this going on for a while, and I don't know, man. Nobody just, this is a big deal. To say that that's not a big deal is kind of silly. Just Israel since 1945, I believe, that they've been there. It's crazy because that in itself is like, a sign and a miracle, and the Third Temple for sure, because, their religion is the one, the Jews, they don't believe that, Jesus was the Messiah, but they were gonna, they're continuing on with their religion, but they pretty much got cut off, their covenant got cut off, and it's pretty crazy that they still do that, and I don't mean any offense or nothing, but that's the religion, and unfortunately that kind of sets you up for the whole deception of the coming one that will seem like he's the one, that he's gonna make everything better, and he's gonna cause the governments of the world to be ashamed, because he's just gonna be peace, he's just gonna, I don't know, some people believe it's Prince William or whatever, but the guy who's going to be given all the power of the world and whatnot. I think you fall into that system of believing that we're all just gonna, like someone's coming. No, he did come, but he's gonna come again. That's the difference. But I think it's just crazy, like the whole third temple thing being there. Like I don't know, like with my eschatology, I really still have like you know what I mean. I'm still learning a lot all the time, and I hold on to it pretty loosely. But like I think it's pretty crazy because if they're gonna build it, remember that the Antichrist goes in there and he stands in there as he is like to be God on earth. And I was just like, well, if that's gonna happen, well then it's kind of convenient that you're building it right now. So to kind of undermine that, to me, is suspect. I only follow the Times of Israel because they're like they're one of the mainstream medias of their where they're from, and they're very liberal today. If you don't know about Israel today, they're pretty liberal over there, and their media seems to be a little bit, sometimes to me, a little bit disconnected like ours, and that kind of raises to me a red flag. So I kind of I follow them out of just watching on them. I watch on everybody reports, and even though we know like the ABC alphabet media, like a lot of them are just keeping you distracted and whatnot. A lot of us will report on those things too, though, because they do reveal things that are true. They'll be talking about half truths, but we could take from them an example as to like how do we steer, people more in the direction of getting something, where it's edifying to the issue or the subject matter. Because to me, a lot of the journalism today is like opinions. It's like you're giving me your opinion, you're not leading me into knowing anything, leading me with the evidence to show what is that, you know what I mean, what's going on here. And the journalism shouldn't be that way. It should be more like informing you rather than kind of taking people's sides and telling jokes and mocking, kind of sliding people like subtly and doing stuff like that. Like I don't really, that raises up red flags. I'm just saying. The Times of Israel, whether they're the guy that they talked to was lying or he was, intent, or he just didn't know, that goes on too. You never know whether he's on one side or another, but I wouldn't be surprised either. It's just kind of crazy though, man. Just go look at Israel for a second on where they're at on a map, and look at what's around them and how so many people want to take away like their land when they have so much of it already. It's just, it blows your mind. And to think that like the Antichrist is gonna stand in there, like that's significant. You know what I mean? It's kind of dumb that you would try to build something like this and make it seem as if it's not a big deal. I just kind of think that's funny. Just keep observing, you know what I mean? Like observe past whatever anyone tries to. You notice that if like the media ever covers something that's interesting in the alternative, they'll kind of undermine it. That's how they work. They undermine real issues like they're not a big deal. Like that's not what we're talking about right now. If you want to be useful, you could be with us over here, but we're not going to listen to you, kind of thing. That's just taking advantage of your status or whoever you think you are, just because you have a certain position or a job and you think you're in control. You're really not. And being deceived and deceiving and whatnot goes with being, working for money or mammon, or following the world system, or going according to the course of this world. It'll take you away from God, and not only that, but it'll make you pretty, bad toward other people, and you're not sinning against anyone but God. And God have mercy on us all, right? Because we all see this stuff going on, like in New York with like the Cali being projected on top of the Empire State Building. Yeah. Okay, you guys, buckle up and just be, diligent and consistent when you read the scriptures to get a really good, grasp on the whole thing, and expect, God to speak to you through it. It's always a good thing. And that's where you should be trying to get your wisdom from, the serpent wisdom, the thinking you're being held down by, the commandments of God. Commandments of God are faithful and true, and they're sure they make your path straight. You know what I mean? The serpent wisdom of this world, though, is trying to lead you away from all the goodness. So keep your eyes open. God bless.